So, hey, hello and welcome finally to a new session in the Lighting Academy. Um, what a ride. Yeah, so I think some of you might have noticed my absence, and I had super huge problems with my computer. It just like killed itself a couple of weeks ago, and I was not in a position to buy a new one. And it turned out to be a little bit tricky to get the hardware because, like, I would argue that I have a pretty good computer. However, the hardware is 6 years old, so it can run every new game on Ultra, but you don't get the parts anymore. So that was a little bit troublesome, but and I have to mention this specifically because this is one of those moments, when you scroll down your Facebook wall or something like that, and then you see like some memes or whatever, and then sometimes you scroll over these faith in humanity restored images, and Nick Verducci, that's the man. He restored my faith in humanity because he donated hardware that was basically almost the same stuff as I had in my computer before. And he donated that hardware to me and he sent it over from Chicago. And I could send it directly to the guys that repaired my computer and they built it in. And now my computer is finally working again. So here we are for the next session in the Lighting Academy. Um, and yeah, we're basically here where we left off the last time. So before we get things started, as always, what I'm about to say is my opinions, my perspective, and it's based on my experience. So there are many, many different ways of doing things, and those are the ways that I just figured work best for me. So, um, yeah, what do we have here? I actually have to catch up a bit myself as well. So last time we added the HDR image here. Um, we started some test bakes to see what kind of like light distribution we're getting here. Um, so that looks actually pretty decent already. Um, I think we also looked here at the displacing of the reflection capture, things like that. We removed some of those decals over here that are like just not really adding anything to the scene, not making this like feel more realistic. Um, One thing that you can see up here on the windows, that is the screen space reflections on translucent materials. And as you can see, they don't support roughness in the same way as the normal screen space reflections do, and they have quite some artifacts. So I think we should turn that off because it is something that I think causes more weirdness than actually like giving us a real benefit visually. And again, um, like I said in my first video, it kills the immersion if you get like super weird glitches and artifacts all the time. So we're just gonna grab that glass shader here and we scroll down here and you can turn it off here. So now we don't have screen space reflections anymore. Um, we still have reflections because we get reflections from the cube map captures. So that should still all work. Uh, yeah, that Fresnel opacity, we should probably tweak it a bit. Yeah, because right now that is not really doing anything. So we should touch it. Oh, by the way, I see this very, very often. Specular being modified Um, that is something that I'm not a big fan of. Like the specular value is supposed to be zero point 0.5, and there are exceptions, yes, and there are variations. However, most of the stuff like deals like it sticks to a value around zero point 0.5. And for something as highly reflective as glass, you actually really don't want to lower that value. You would rather like put it to 1 or something like that. However, it turned out to look more realistic when you add metallic. And what most people don't know is in if you put something into metallic, the specular value has no influence anymore. Because if you put in metallic, spec gets automatically set to 1. Um, so that's basically it doesn't do anything if you work with those two values together. Um, so here you can see that we have some sort of reflection. Obviously, it's a little bit bugged out because we don't have separate volumes for these rooms. And what we can do with this opacity stuff here is that basically the more flat the angle, the stronger the reflectivity. Um, but I would need to check again quickly which one is which one. So that one is the white one, so that one should be higher. As you can see, it just got like more opaque here. And basically the flatter my viewing angle gets, the more opaque this kinda gets. Until you have it like fully opaque. So now you can kinda like play around a bit with these values. And sometimes you can also break that stuff. But if I... Okay. This seems to not really work the way it should. Yeah. That might be because maybe the Fresnel curve is not like, like the exponents and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not gonna mess around with that too much right now because the Lighting Academy is not necessarily about making the most beautiful glass shader. Yeah, that doesn't really work. But anyways, um, so yeah, we had a look at some of these things here. Um, we can also just quickly catch up what our bake looked like. So we still have some artifacts here. Um, if we look at the light map density, it should actually be kind of enough. Although we might not get like some nice soft stuff here, because if you look at this, it's almost like the thickness of the pixel, right? And if we want a bit more, we might want to increase that. So let's just do that. All right. And I think what we should slowly start looking into um, is actually why is ah, is the colors. So if we check this, we can see a couple of things. So first of all, the floor is really, really, really black. That is, if you're a frequent follower of the Lighting Academy, you know my opinion on that. So I think this is really bad. I also don't like the splotchiness of the wall diffuse colors. Um, I already changed this a bit here, like color-wise. I think I did. Um, but this is also like way too oversaturated, and it just doesn't really look like nice and real wood, I would say. The plants are okay, and the pots too, but like I really think we should touch some of the things here. So, um, so I do have some sort of like texture library that I kind of like built over the years, and there's just like tons of stuff in there. Uh, ooh, excuse me. Uh, it's Swedish Midsummer, and I was out yesterday. I'm still a tiny little bit tired, but it's okay. um, so yeah, this is something that I can just like recommend to anybody. It's like, you know, just build your own texture libraries with tons of stuff that you like. If you need something quickly, like a noise texture or whatever, that you like don't always have to make stuff from scratch. Obviously, you don't want to reuse things all the time because it gets repetitive. But for these cases, I'm actually very happy that I have certain textures already that I can just like use to fool around a bit here. So just gonna add a new folder here that I will definitely remember. And let's import some stuff. So I'm gonna start with the wall textures, and I actually have two textures that I've used on another project, um, and they are two stucco textures. So one is the diffuse, which looks like this. Yeah, some nice stucco. We also have like some like I really like this texture because it has a couple of nice features. It has like the fine noise, it has the big noise, it has like parts where it's more um rough and more parts where it's more like um, I don't actually know how you say that in English, but you know when they put these on the walls, they kind of like uh, have these things that they kind of like brush over it with. And you can see like you just get some nice structures from it and like some bigger shapes, larger shapes. So it's actually like I like the texture a lot for the versatility that it has. And we have a matching normal map that only has like very small scale features. And now what I want to do is I want to bring that stuff into this shader. So here what we can see is we have our splotchy diffuse texture, which is this one. And we also maybe have the macro variation enabled from one of the shader examples from Unreal. And we have this normal map. Uh, it's not a bad normal map, but it kind of like makes it look too gamey for me. At least that's kind of like how I feel about it. So yeah, there it is. So this stuff, I don't like it at all. Um, So then we have this base color texture here. Which I also don't really like. And we also have a modified spec again. I'm gonna delete that. And what else do we have? We have this roughness. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna delete most of that stuff here. Okay, let's make this thing clean. Okay. And let's get my textures in. Whoops. So that's my diffuse texture for the stucco. It's actually already like it has the correct like colors kind of like, because what you want is like when you have white walls, they should never be white. Like white walls are always more or less gray. Um, they're not as high in value as you normally think. That makes it like look like white stuff, right? So that is just something to keep in mind, that you don't really need it to be white. So that color is actually quite a good color for a white wall. So obviously this looks quite boring. Um, so what I will do is I will take the red channel of my diffuse and put it, nope, not in this one. Put it into the alpha of a lerp, and we're gonna do a roughness min into the black one. We just copy that and make a roughness max. Well, we gotta put this into roughness, obviously. So I'm just gonna set this up now. I'm not like really making this look super beautiful right now. So what's this? Oof. Be gone. Okay. So what we also need is we need the blend angle corrected normals. And we're gonna use our stucco normal as the base normal, and we're gonna add the other normal map back in with a strength multiplier here. We can also do the strength thing differently, because like I don't like this messing around with these numbers here. So what I usually do is break components. So we can basically break these components, and we add the red and the green channel together, and we multiply it separately. And the cool thing is like this looks a little bit complex right now, right? But the cool thing is that usually I build this into a material function, right? So basically I just drag in one thing, and it then basically does the whole stuff for me. And we take another append, and then we take this one here and we add in back the blue channel. So, and the cool thing is that now what we can do is we just have one value that we feed in here, and we just call this normal strength. All right. And now it's set to 0, right? And now what it does is basically it takes the red and the green channel, those are the ones that you want to multiply, and multiplies them up while maintaining the blue channel, and then it just appends it back on in the end here. So that is, it's really nice. And you can just take this and crank it up, as you can see here. Okay, so what else do we need to do? We need to set up some texture coordinates. So we just call this tiling for now. And we set this to 1. So those are these normals. And what I also want to do is I think I want to tile the big noisy normal map with a lower frequency, right? So what I will do is I will just copy the coordinates and the multiply over as well. And we're gonna do this. But we set it, let's try 0.5. Okay. So we can already see a bit of what we have here. So first of all, I think we should probably tile it more. Probably something like this. I'm also, let's try flipping the normals, because like you can always vary that, right? Now it like goes in, but you can say like, hey, I actually want to like have it sticking out. It looks a bit weird because of the smoothness of the roughness right now. So, but I guess we want to do it like this. And now we can just go in here and let's see what we get from this. Roughness values for walls is always a tricky thing, because I want more tiling. It's like it's hard to tweak it nicely all the time because you don't always see the reflections properly, and it's quite tricky because you want it to be reflective, like there should be something, but you also don't want it to be like too much. So it starts looking like fake plastic, glossy stuff. Like if I lower the value too much here, you can see like, I mean, this is not how a wall looks like, right? I mean, this is just way too reflective. This is almost like I don't know, like maybe they use paint like that in a kitchen environment where it needs to be like, that you can like super easily clean it with water or something, and it is like a really like a coated paint almost or something like that. Um, but overall, we should be careful. And now what we can do is we can back add in this normal map again. However, we really need to make it super subtle. And I think we need to adjust the tiling more. Because I basically just want some large scale variation from it, right? I don't really want it to have a super big impact here. Yeah, it's starting to look better. I mean, I will probably like retweak a lot of that stuff uh, quite frequently, just because it's like on the fly. Sometimes you see things and you're like, hey, I think this might be better off like this or like that. Okay. And what I also want to do actually is, yeah, I actually want to use this texture as well. All right. Because like what I want is I want to have some large scale roughness variation as well. That kind of like um, just breaks up the roughness on a bigger level here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna preview this, and you can see that we get like a couple of variations. I might also have to hook up a different tiling value for it. And now you can see here we get this kind of like glossy look back. So we just need to touch our values here a bit. Yeah. Yeah. See, we're starting to get some nice response here at grazing angles. We might want to go a bit lower here. Yeah. So if I think if we look at this here, it I believe it looks better than before. It looks like more natural. No. And also we need to make the lighting pop a bit more. So we're also like losing a bit because of that. Rip. And the next thing I want to look at, I think I should have some wood somewhere too. Boom, 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 boom. No. No. Okay, let's try that. Although it is very dark. Very, very, very dark. But that's okay. Oh yeah, that was the one that you have to lower. Alright. Let's do this, and let's just try this. So I got this oak texture, I got some normals, and I got a roughness too. Let's check out what we can do with these wood beams. So I'm gonna remove the tint, and I'm just gonna put this in here. I'm gonna remove the specular tweak, and I'm gonna add my texture here. I'm gonna add my roughness texture here. My normals here. One important thing that you want to do is when you have like a roughness texture, you definitely want to uncheck sRGB. So now you can see that it's not as glossy anymore. This whole ambient occlusion stuff, we don't need it. And this one needs to be set to linear color. Alright. And that one is also not really needed. Yep. And one last thing that I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna copy that over because why not? Here. So I can tweak my roughness here. And of course it complains because I've put in a color channel into the alpha, so that's where you need to just take the red channel then. Okay. So let's have a look at this. I'm also not claiming that this is going to be perfect now. Because it's also a little bit trial and error for me too. And I'm just like trying to do something here a little bit. So what you can see, I mean, like it would have been nice to actually model these with like a little bit more edge detail here. What the hell? Uh-huh. Yeah. Bum. So these wood ends. Yeah. I mean, it's like a bit tricky when you have to find exactly the textures that you basically want for something like this. Can I not look at the... No. At the buffers. So let's do that here. So I think what we need to do with this is we need to um, power up the roughness a bit. And then we need to clamp it as well, because if we power it, we basically generate like values above 1. And the alpha input of the lerp node doesn't necessarily like that a lot. So yeah, let's just do this quickly and see what we get here. Yeah, I thought so. And now what we can do is actually we can start messing with these values a bit. So you can see that I'm actually putting stuff like this value doesn't really make sense, but it kind of makes sense here because of the way that I powered it and that it worked, right? So it's kind of like actually is not that stupid to use such a value. But yeah, it's not gonna be super easy to make that look good. I'm also not really happy with the repeating patterns. It's just way too noisy, but I think we're gonna keep it for now. Maybe I'll find a better wood texture, but I mean, like, I also don't want to spend too much time on like searching for like textures and stuff. Anyways, so what we definitely need to do before we bake the next time is we need to touch the floor, and we need to kind of like go to something that is more uh, around here because it is very gray, yes. But once we get everything going, it will be we will get a lot more darkness from it as well. So we want some more bounce here and all that. So that actually makes quite a lot of sense to brighten that floor up, and it will probably get like darkened again, kind of like this maybe. But I think we should start off with something a little bit brighter just to get some more bounce light going. Uh, yeah. I just want to quickly check something because I think the floor looks quite weird all the time, and I think it's like something with the reflections. Haha. So there we go. Still, why does it look so noisy? Ah, yeah. Let's do this. And Okay, that is very interesting. Usually the screen space reflections should not look that noisy on SSR quality 4. Um, so now it kind of like smooths them out via temporal, but it's still like, I mean, what is this? This is like super weird. I haven't had that before, and it sounds scary, but it seems to be here since the new computer, which kind of like doesn't really make any sense. So that's quality 3, that's quality 4. Why is it so noisy? Ah. Well, guess we just have to deal with it. But you can see that like there was a lot of stuff that wasn't really being reflected, so now you get a lot better impression of how this actually looks. And I think, yeah, we're onto something here. Like I think this is not so bad actually. So now that we have these values set, what we definitely want to do is we want to do a new bake to see what we're actually getting here. Okay. That is fine. Great. Um, so I've started here like mingling with these settings, and we really need like these crazy qualities for that stuff. So what this value does, it is a, a unit relationship basically, right? And to make it easy for you to understand, the lower this value is, the more um, small objects can be like seen from the rays that shoot throughout the scene. Like it's kind of like a sampling rate, so to say. Like if the samples are too big, then certain small objects they can't be like regarded really by the bake. So it just makes everything a lot more precise. Also, it increases baking times tremendously. And what it also does is it adds a lot more noise in certain scenarios where you suddenly get like a lot more stuff back here, for example, where it looks like splotchy and ugly and stuff like. God damn, the temporal stuff freaks me out. I need to turn it off again. Sorry. SSR temporal 0. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Looks a bit worse, but like at least it doesn't do like weird ghosting stuff all the time. Okay. Um, so like you want to use that for high quality stuff and when you want to have small features represented. So basically like I want shadows from these lights here, right? So that is definitely something where I need a low sampling rate here to kind of like, well, actually it's a high sampling rate in that sense. But like it needs a lower value so it can read smaller shapes too. The bigger the value, the bigger the shapes, kind of like. We keep the bounces at 10, and to basically compensate for that issue with the sampling rate here and with the noise that you get and with the artifacts, what you do is you basically compensate with indirect lighting quality. So I put this up to 6 to like smooth it out again and to kind of like fix the errors that this can generate. And then the indirect lighting smoothness, I lowered it a bit because you just don't want everything to be too much smoothed away. So those are kind of like the settings that I run. And I think we can actually try to start running the final settings. So I will just do zero point 0.1 here. Um, so I will run this scene with those settings. Those settings should be like more than enough to make it look really good, actually, bake wise. Um, and yeah, like just as a test, I'm gonna kick off a full production bake now, and I'm gonna come back once it's done, and then we can have a look at it. So yeah, let's kick off this bake and yeah, talk again in a minute. All right, so we're back. Sadly, I had to take like a longer break. So yep, it's a day later. Um, yeah, so the bake took actually quite long. I went out in the meantime, so I think it took approximately 4 hours or something. But yeah, I mean, look at this. We can already clearly see that there's like a quite a huge difference here. So if we go to lighting only, let's have a look and analyze our bake first here. So first thing that I can see is look at this stuff. I mean, sorry if I say it, but that's just see, this is what a lighting artist considers to be a super sexy bake. This is just like for a lighting artist, shadowing like that, that's just like pure porn. That's like you just look at it and you're like, oh my god, this is so nice. So we get basically we get everything that we want, and I was like talking about. Like we can see here, like we get these nice indirect shadows from here. We get the same from here. We get super nice indirect shadows from the benches and everything. And remember when I talked about that we turned off dynamic AO, the screen space AO. I mean, like, look at this stuff. We get all that. We get all that definition. We don't need SSAO to do it for us because we have it way more precise from this bake. Here you can see what I was saying about this corner here. Like you can see how we get the shadow coming down here and the shadow coming down here because of the light entering through these windows. We get even like nice little drop shadows from the picture frames. I mean, look at this here. Look at this shadow. I mean, this is just this is a nice bake. This is a really good bake. So that turned out exactly how I was hoping it would turn out, and basically also how I expected it. So we can also see these nice little drop shadows now from the spotlights we got in the ceiling. We got nice shadows from the wood here. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of noise here. So this one we can only get rid of it if we even increase the indirect lighting quality further. So if I would up this from 6 to like 8 or 10, we would probably get rid of that stuff here. The same goes for this corner here. So you can see there's still some noise left. If I go to lit, you will not really notice that. However, we will, with the next bake, turn on these lights up here. So yeah, we will not run into any problems here with like noise or stuff like that. But yeah, I mean like overall, like Jesus, this is a good bake. This is so much better than what we had before. And like if we just look at all the information, Um, and I mean, if we just start like doing something like this, uh, just arrange the camera quite in a spot that I like. And if we now just like go in here into the post volume and we go to our auto exposure, we actually just crank it up even more. Let's say like this. We're now way more in that range that we had in the example image, right? So, I mean, if we look at this, so much nicer. This just feels much more real. If we look at this stuff here, this is, yeah, it's just a lot nicer. Um, what's up with this floor's roughness? What's additional roughness? I don't understand. Uh, yeah, I'm just like tweaking the floor a little bit. Like you can see there's like, yeah, we should probably touch that material a bit. Mm. I'm just like fooling around a bit with the roughness of the floor. But yeah, like what's this additional roughness thingy doing? It just like makes everything like noisy and crizzly, like I don't know. That's a weird thing. I'm just gonna reset that. So yeah, I mean this is so nice. So I think this was really, really successful. So if we just look at that, um, this just comes to life a lot more like this. What we can also do is, since the HDR image had a bit warmer colors, this is all quite warm, we can just go into the white balance and go to like 5700 maybe. Yeah. So look at this, right? Like warm, cold, warm, cold. I would even say maybe we can do like 6000. Yeah, like now this is the default color, and that is with the subtle Kelvin tweak, so we just get a little bit more neutral uh, image here. So if I take this shot now, I mean like that just feels incredibly more real than what we had in the beginning. So I would say mission almost accomplished. Okay. I also think that the wood like actually kind of like works. So it's not that bad. I mean, we could like tweak the wood ends, I guess, and just oh wow, they're purple. That's very interesting. How does this color correlate to what we have? I don't know. But see, now I made them uh oh god, I don't know the English word for the plant, but you know the yeah, of course. Now I made them lavender. So lavender apparently fits well. Okay, yeah, that works. I honestly haven't really looked at those ones here. So they have a broken material, texture sample type, color should be linear. What? What's that? To set the color. And what's this? sRGB. Yeah, of course this should be linear in that case. I don't know where that broke. Yeah, whatever. Cool. Um, yeah, okay. I think they would be cooler in a different color. Like, you know, metal or something like that. But yeah, anyways, um, So I think this is actually like really, really nice already. So what I think what we need to do, um, I would like to close the session off with this um, for now. This looks really good. Um, and the next time I would like to then talk about some more material pushes. So the floor is something that I think like it's just like it looks quite repeating and not very interesting. I think we can make the floor look nicer. I also want to add the lights here, so we're gonna um, modify the spotlight so this is actually emissive. We're gonna add spotlights here, and we're also gonna use IES profiles to give some nice shape to these lights. We're gonna rebake all of that, and we're gonna do something to the floor material. And yeah, I mean, if I look at everything else, it's pretty good. There's a couple of things, like something is like with the specularity here with the reflections. Maybe we should like place some more proper reflection here. I mean, let's just like try it out quickly to see if that is what's causing the issue here. Yeah, I mean, like I can probably already see that here. Yeah, and then we just scale it down, kind of like something like this. So you can see, right, if I turn it off, like we get this super bright reflection here. And if I make it visible again, we get something that way more accurately represents the colors around the object. I scaled it so small on purpose because like you can see that we start affecting the floor around us, and we start to get this kind of like bubble look again, which I definitely don't want to have. So I'm just like trying to only affect the plant here. So this is like basically then part of the polish pass later on when we're done with all the materials and all the colors and all that. Then we're just gonna make sure that it always kind of like looks good from every side where we view it. Um, Also, one thing is like when we will work with the floor, I will make it a lot rougher, and the reason for that is those benches here, they are like the worst object for screen space reflections that you can have. Um, we could use planar reflection for the floor, but then we wouldn't get different roughness levels based on like our texture or like like normally when people walk around this floor, it gets used differently here or versus on the sides, and you can reflect that as well with some like masks on the edges and stuff like that. So you can just make a little bit more variety on the floor, and that doesn't really work with planar reflection. So the problem with these with SSR is like you can see it kind of like picks up the flower pods and the walls and the buildings, and it picks up the windows up here, which we can see. But you can see back here, or if we get closer, like here you can see it kind of like picks up this stuff, but it kind of like has issues with the bench. And the problem is that the bench is basically that this is just a tiny little frame. It's not really solid, and it also has problems like tracing below the object. So the bench is just like a bad object for SSR, as you can see here, like this thing kind of works, but the bench just like doesn't work. And so what we need to do is we basically need to make the floor rougher, kind of like this, but then we need to have a variety of roughness where we see some contact reflection, but we kind of like it varies so strongly that you don't really see that it's weird that it doesn't reflect the full bench, you know? So we kind of like trick the brain into believing that it is supposed to look like that. So what we need to do is we need a higher base roughness and more variety to kind of like trick the brain of thinking like, oh yeah, 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 that's like perfectly reflecting and blah blah blah. That's not weird at all, right? Um, but as you can see now, this just looks bad. So we need to spend some time on this floor and make the add some new textures and break up the roughness, break up the normals as well, and have it a bit differently. And so yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Um, but for today, I would say that's it. Uh, really, really good bake so far. I mean, we haven't done a lot, but it's important to understand how all these settings come together and how they can turn something that was like pretty like unprecise and dirty looking from a bake perspective and turn it into something like this, which is just, yeah, it's just a really good bake with some really nice lighting definition. So yeah, um, with that said, I would say let's close off and end today's session. I hope you learned something, and again, super happy to be back. And also, again, super great thanks to Nick Verducci, who is the man who donated hardware so I could fix the computer. I was just a crazy thing, and I wrote like 100 thanks to him because I was like, man, I've never seen such like dedication and passion from the community. So this is really highly appreciated, and I think is super, super, super awesome. Thank you guys for being such good followers, and yeah, I hope you had fun and enjoyed the session. And I guess see you guys next week with the next session. Then have a good time. Take care. Bye bye.